When looking for your favorite tools and supplies for your next flooring job, we have the absolute best place to shop online. Head on over to shagtools.com, the pro's choice for everything from cutters, adhesives, knee pads, shower systems, and more. Shag Tools carries all the premium brands you know and trust. In stock with fast shipping to either you or your job site. And right now, our new customers are going to receive 10% off their initial purchase using the code HUDDLE10. That's right, HUDDLE10 at shagtools.com.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, the #1 podcast in flooring. We're here every week to help you guys gain forward progress in your flooring career. Simply put, we're here to help you win even when we stumble over our words.
Which is every single time.
Which is almost every single time. For our new viewers, welcome to the team. Happy to have all you guys on here today. On the podcast, as always, Mr. Daniel and Jose Gonzalez.
What's up?
He only says
What's
that because
up,
you missed
fellas?
last week. That's all.
Well, yeah. I mean, almost every time, should I?
Yeah.
So today's sponsors, I want to give a shout out to NAFCT and, well, let me just not bring in Divergent Adhesives because NAFCT doesn't make adhesives. So, let's use them sole and alone. I think they're the best trainers in resilient flooring. Catch one of their upcoming trainings. We highly encourage it. Not only highly encourage it, we want you to go. So click on the QR code if you're catching this now. If you don't, we'll pop it up a little bit later. But NAFCT is doing some great stuff over there with their training. So support those guys, fill the classrooms. It's going to start to matter big time. So the VTI is live. We're growing at a rapid rate now all of a sudden. And make sure that you're taking opportunities to go get your training with the NAFCT. Another one of today's sponsors is Divergent Adhesives. Sonny knows what he's doing over there at Divergent. If you got a project that is tough with demanding job site conditions and you need an adhesive you can rely on, click on that QR code right there and go see Sonny at divergent.com. I believe it's divergent.com.
Divergentadhesives.com.
Divergentadhesives.com. Sorry there. You can click on the QR code and you ain't got to listen to me. So check that out. They make great adhesives. I mean, anybody I've talked to that's used them will tell you the quality, the ease of use for the installer. So go check them out. And Trade Tap, the VTI, is another sponsor for today. It's all fed by all this anyway. This is the industry's trainings all in one place. There for you to go build a profile and a career and online resume, sell yourself, set yourself apart, and compete in the marketplace, but not with handyman, not with hobbyists, not with weekend warriors. Compete with like-minded individuals. That's what we're talking about over there at the VTI, that brought to you by Trade Tap. All right, guys. So today's topic is training, certification, and standards. Who decides what qualified means? That might be a little mind bender, but really what we're saying is training, certification, and standards are the building blocks of qualified. But so often we hear somebody say, I want a qualified installer, or send me a qualified installer, or a qualified installer. I hear it all the time, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, to what level? And who decides what?
Right now, in the bid documents, they'll say that too. They want you, in some of the stuff that I've been bidding lately, it's in the submittals. One of the submittals that they want is the qualifications for the installer, which is crazy because you've already got the project by then.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the specs. Well, maybe not. I guess you could. You got the specs before you bid it, but you got qualified installers, so doesn't matter to you guys. But the point is that they'll say stuff like qualified installer with experience in like project or something like that. Like how can how, what does that do
What does
for
that
anybody?
what does that mean?
What does it mean,
Yeah.
Basil?
Well, who's doing the legwork too, right? Like even if they say they meet all of those standards and the requirements, who's doing the legwork for them? I think I've seen a couple projects where it says, or the prequal, submit some projects that you have done, right?
Yeah, that's pretty often. I mean, we do pre-qualifications. You guys do pre-qualifications. Those are usually standards or financial qualifications, proving that you can actually do the project. Not too often do they ask you what level of installers do you have on your staff? Are you subbing? And if you are, how are you quality controlling? Any of that. That's what this isn't a podcast about the VTI, but that is what the VTI
Right.
solves.
Well, our term contract for the city of GR does ask some of those specifics, and that's what I was referring to. Is
It's nice when they do. At least
yeah,
you have some way to kind of like set yourself apart, huh?
yeah. Well, and then get the opportunity to kind of submit some of our certifications or qualifications to them before the projects come across the desk for bid, right? So they know that, all right, Preferred Flooring does have a certification for this product, so let's make sure they get this bid.
Yeah, we had a conversation with Beth Miller. It's been probably a year ago. There's a group of us that, if you guys remember that, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And the talk was all about who decides what qualified is. And she was trying to do some work for some manufacturers, if I remember correctly, to like almost give a definition to qualified, because it can mean 1,000 different things. I mean, qualified is indicating that there's a goal, like qualified to do a vestibule or carpet tile, or qualified to do, a vestibule of ceramic, or is it qualified to do a shower system with gauge porcelain panels, or like what level of qualification? So obviously the discussion is going to lead us right to where the huddle always goes, which is training certifications mixed in with your years of experience, like getting trained, getting certified, taking those opportunities to do so. There is a lot of good work going into the training of installers. You guys, as the installers, have to get, on board with, setting yourself apart by going and getting trained and educated in your craft. And I know a lot of our listeners are like, I'm preaching to the choir, but there's also, I think, some that have been on here before. They're like, will argue about the certifications or the trainings or whatever. And that, is this what we talked about, Daniel? Was this the
kind of
the
like
banner?
who can actually say, right? Who's gonna do that? Is it gonna be the training entities? Is it gonna be the manufacturers? Who says that you're qualified?
Yeah, and how do you
Who
prove
actually
it?
decides it? Yeah, who decides it at the end of the day, right?
And even further than that, and I know, so just so people know that Trade Tap is a sponsor, so we are going to talk about them, but that is kind of how this all came to be too, because even after that conversation, we've talked about it, right? And it's like, well, you talk about certified and then qualified, and that's kind of where you came up with the verified thing, right? Because it's not just saying that you're verified or you're qualified or you're certified. It's like, boom, let's come prove this and get that verification.
Yeah. Yeah, verification of your credentials and verification of the level of quality that you I shouldn't even say quality, the level at which your capabilities are. Denise says the industry. Well, I mean,
The industries.
yeah, which one? Because we
Right.
got so many different disciplines in flooring. Is it hardwood, carpet, ceramic, resilient modular, resilient sheet? Like, the easiest answer to this is if you're doing NORA and you're NORA certified, NORA is saying you're qualified. But look at what it requires is for you to go get trained and certified. I would argue, and I made this argument in our discussion um, with Beth, is like, say just anybody saying you're qualified is, or if you proclaim you're qualified, I think that word needs to go out of the window, because there's too many variables that go into what, not only what it means, but how does that apply to, you could be a qualified um, you know, resilient installer or LVP, whatever, but are you qualified to do sheet vinyl, flash coving, heat welding kind of thing? There's just a lot of stuff into that word that's baked in that makes it really a poor word to use, so to speak.
Right. And for the people who don't understand and don't know why we're having this conversation, it's really easy, right? Like anyone could go out and buy tools. Anyone could go out and get liability. Anyone can call themselves an installer. Anyone can do that. It's not hard, and we're in the majority of the flooring industry isn't bound by some kind of structured program where we have an apprentice, a mandatory apprenticeship, and flow that way. So,
or even a license, right?
Right, or even a license, right? And we're not put under the gun like the electricians and the plumbers. We don't have to pass, step-by-step inspections or inspections during certain parts of our process. We just go and do it. And sometimes you don't know who really knows what they're doing versus who don't until it's too late.
Yeah.
And then everybody loses.
I would say if you do any Corps of Engineer work, especially heavy core work, we're doing a few jobs and we've done them in the past, and they will inspect you got to call in for inspections for each, like your layout, then, or your waterproofing, then your layout, and all your cuts. You got to display where all your cuts are going in a visual format. Then the installation, you got to get it inspected pre-grouting, and then after that, boom.
Oh, I actually like that process, right? Like that. If they don't like something along the way, you're fixing it before it becomes an issue.
Yes, and to answer your question, Denise, yes. In fact, the different certifications, every training, every certification will build your VTI ranking. So obviously, your years of experience matters, but so does all of your certifications and your trainings, whether it's any entity. Um, it impacts your VTI ranking. So yes.
Are any disallowed?
No, they're all weighed. So even an afternoon workshop in the tile world, they'll have afternoon workshops at your
Like a
local
Schluter workshop or something?
Yeah, a Schluter workshop's even a little more maybe involved, but those afternoon workshops, you'll go for the NTCA at a Dow Tile, they'll bring, grab a sandwich, a box of lunch kind of thing. Even those are recognized as long as the entity themselves are recording that you're there, and we can verify it, or I say we, Verified Trade Index can verify it, then it will impact your ranking. So yeah, everything's allowed. We just want to have, I think as an industry, and we've gotten a lot of support here, the guys and me and Trade Tap folks and like all flooring people that I've talked to. I had a great conversation with a very large flooring contractor in Cincinnati, and he made this comment. He said that, do you guys remember the talk that at convention about AI and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
He used a term. He says, yeah, we see they've started implementing AI with IBM. So they're a big company and have been implementing some stuff with IBM. And he said, it's getting to the point where all of that the only thing you're going to have to focus on and really put your hooks into is your installation and your relationships. And I was like, that's exactly what I said. He said it's the middle stuff's going to get commoditized, like estimating and all of that kind of stuff is getting commoditized. And I was like, yeah. He said none of our most people's, in the commercial world anyway, most of their estimates are being taken off. At least the quantifications, the takeoffs are being done either overseas or by AI. Some people have in-house and estimators. We still do. In fact, we're looking to hire, but it's more of controlling the process as opposed to doing the process. We want the estimator who knows the process to control the process. So they're not losing their job. It's just they're going to be able to control the process and put out a ton more project
That's what I mean.
numbers.
It's more efficient, right? It's boom, you handle all this stuff that I would be spending all this time on while I can do something else, come back to it, and then you've already doing two jobs at the same time instead of one.
Yeah, we're getting close to the point where something that would take us a week to take off and get quantities for is taking 3 to 4 hours total to get the quantities and even to kind of review them and double check them. So the point here is if you're an installer, what I'm telling you is that the companies are going to start really focusing on your ability to do the work and to prove that you can do the work. Architects and even some a lot of end users like national account stuff is looking at adding qualifications to their specs. They've tried it multiple times, but there is a vehicle now, verified in trade index with the ranking on there. They love the idea of being able to put hey, you need to be expert level in tile on the verified trade index to touch our job. And because it's an individualized ranking, well, that's for the guy that's on the project, not just the company that won the bid. And so there's going to be a lot of focus on workforce development, which is a good thing because it's about time we really focused on workforce development. Now that we have a system, an industry-wide system that'll allow us to be able to have a ranking, think of it like, Ben says a lot, is it kind of puts us on par with licensing for other trades like the plumbers and the electricians and such. And so thus, now that there's a ranking system, we can really focus on workforce development and bringing in new people. There's a class going on. There's so many of these college programs launching through the others out there. I mean, it's going to get bonkers. There's a lot of money into workforce development. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast that BlackRock, who is the largest asset manager on the planet, just earmarked like $1 billion or $2 billion for workforce development for the trades.
Lovely.
Right? So
yeah,
I think it's and there's these memes going across. I don't know, have you seen those, Daniel, where it's like tomorrow's millionaires wear a blue collar?
Yeah, I mean, There's even
It's
a group
like
on Facebook.
the blue
called
collar
the
people
Blue
are
Collar
tomorrow's
Millionaires,
millionaires.
I think I get emails from that too. Blue collar millionaires.
Yeah. So take your, I think the biggest thing is like that we all like drip really start to matter. It's matter. It's just going to be, I think, more focus on like, are you doing the things it takes to be considered a quality or qualified installer? Well, again, that qualified word is what we had a whole session just trying to figure out what that means because they put that in there in
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Yeah, it kept cutting out
qualified
too.
installers.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
You're going in and out, Paul.
did I
There, Paul?
I
You're
got
back.
lost and I'm back.
You were
No, but
kind
it
of
was
freezing for a second, and then you blipped in and out. But you were
Well, it was
talking about the
manufacturers is what I
manufacturers.
was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the manufacturers can put you through their programs and everything, and that's great, right? Because any education is good education. It's just how do we not have to go through one for every single manufacturer? And that's kind of where you take these other certifications through the different, training entities and get it like that, because then it's more generalized. There's value in both of them.
I would take both of them. I mean, if the NAFCT was around when I was getting my certifications, I would have been in there. And CFI is probably one of, what it does. Well, there's Denise says, where is CFI? Well, CFI has a lot of trainings that are in the system. They actually have a training hub that's hooked directly into the VTI. So anybody that has a training hub is directly hooked into the VTI. But that's a whole nother podcast, really. The CFI, here's the bottom line. When training entities are focused on just putting together the best trainings possible and their courses are full, that's when we're winning as an industry. And CFI has some really great trainings, particularly in, carpet, for example. They got the natural fibers, they got those certifications with NFIC and all of those. So CFI is a big part of the process because they're one of the main training entities. NAFCT is just about anybody you can think of. I mean, the Verified Trade Index has CFI and NAFCT and NWFA and the NTCAs. All the acronyms are in there. If they're not in there, you email us and we'll get them in there if there's a particular training. Wet my whistle there. But NORA, Schluter trainings, like manufacturer trainings are every one of them that we know of, feed it. So you can get trained wherever you want. Anytime there's a training in your area, you take it. And I mean, it's going to impact your overall ranking.
I sent you guys a little private message for you to read from. Those are some of the questions I had, but like I said earlier, I got to take off a little early today for baseball. So
yeah, Jose's
Got
you're
some baseball today. It's baseball season.
Today's
baseball time.
My son's first middle school baseball game ever. So
nice. So let's go through some of Jose's stuff as he's kicking out. Jose, have a great afternoon. Good luck on the first baseball game of the season, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
One of the questions you said, should manufacturers require certification? I think they have in the past when they provided certification, but so many of them stopped doing that. I mean, Forbo still has
Forbo,
some training, but no certification, and
I think
they put their
Forbo's,
trainings through the NAFC. Or does the NAFCT do any of theirs?
we don't do anything with them right now.
I know Install does some. Um, Armstrong,
Armstrong doesn't do anything anymore.
yeah. They all have curriculum that could be, administered through one of the training entities. So, yeah, well, I think the question to his answer is it's like there's going to have to be something to control quality, and so there should be some level of requirement to touch some of their products.
Well,
There's no doubt about it.
I'm just looking at it like in terms of do you go to these things and learn, right? Because like you said, you have those things that you can go to after work that are only a few hours, and that's all you're doing is learning, right? But when you're going to certification, you want it to be worth it. And looking at that CTI, that when we were over at coverings with the NTCA, and it's crazy. It's like they say it's the hardest 25 square foot that they ever put in, and it's like a 1 day thing. And they don't tell them you have to use this or you have to use that. It's here is the print, here is whatever you have here, have at it.
Just like the install competition,
Yep. And
right?
it has to be like the more unobtainable it actually is, the higher it's going to be rated, right? It's you got to have something that's going to be like, oh man, I took that and I didn't, pass the first time. And like I'll be honest, like when we went to Forbo, they were like, they straight up told us, they were like, you guys take too long. And it's like, okay, well, these all these other guys. So there was 12 guys in the class that we went to, and I think 5 of them passed. And those are guys that do that every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to take a long time. I'm trying to make it look good.
Yeah. Well, all those little metrics of a training, like is it a pass fail? Like if you can go to a training and then the certification and still leave without a certification, that's a tough deal. And those are worth a lot in the verified trade index. Those are worth a lot when
Yeah.
you the way that they administer the curriculum um, is considered at every level. So when Denise was asking how all that works, or even how CFI plays into it, it's building the best trainings. Is you have lower level trainings that you just want people to get some knowledge in their head, but you start to get in them intermediate or advanced trainings, those should be kind of pass fail. uh, if you can retake the test, it should maybe be once. I was looking back at some old, how if you talk to some old timers, they'll tell you that the Forbo and the Armstrong certification, particularly back in like the 80s and such, was like super hard. And Armstrong, I found back then you could retake it once, and then after that, you had to retake the whole course to test out again. Um, Now I'm sure that there's other bits and pieces to it because I never took the Armstrong certification, so I can't speak
I
to
did.
that exactly. You took it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Tell
no.
us about that.
So with the Armstrong, it was like I think it was a 3 day thing, and they kind of went over everything because I took it back in like I want to say like 2010 or something, right? So VCT was still pretty prevalent everywhere, and so they did VCT, LVT, sheet vinyl, and then linoleum, and it's kind of like we do with the NAFCT where you have that first certification and then you kind of touch on linoleum, but you don't do any flashing or anything because that's an advanced class. But I mean, they went over quite a bit. It's where I learned how to pattern scribe.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's one of the first things I teach too, because pattern scribing, if you don't know how to do it, it can get you out of a pinch real fast.
I loved it. That's that. A lot of guys would be like, "Why are you pattern scribing that? Just warm it up and
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 have it
hack it in." And then
curl up every single time.
I'm like, dude, why not take a few minutes to pattern scribe this thing out, and then I just go take that piece and and it fits. The same thing, I'm sure. Like if you got a Kevin Keefe or Dave or some of these places, they're some of these guys, I should say, they know, like on carpet, there's the equal level of complexity in a lot of these carpets. You start getting into your care stands and all these, Fabrique and these manufacturers who make really high-end carpets. There is a specific standard way of doing it, and then you still have to have a lot of skill. It's not just knowledge. You got to have the knowledge, and then you got to have the hand skills, and those are typically the best trainings that we have found. The way the heaviest, say, so to speak, are the ones that have some hands-on and classroom time, teaching you about why it matters that you do it that way, and then showing you how to do it. I like that kind of approach to training myself.
So Denise says that manufacturers will have to have some kind of partners. If there are more qualified installers, they will be on board. And I don't think that it's necessarily that the manufacturers aren't on board right now, because the manufacturers actually do quite a bit. It's just everyone's looking at just one person to solve everything when it's a collective. It's not just, if we do this, the manufacturers should do this, because they already do quite a bit. Can they do more? Probably. I mean, we all could do more.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about that I've noticed with all of this is the manufacturers are still relying so heavily on the retailers and dealers that it's our job to make sure we have quality guys. And I was talking to a manufacturer this week about it, and that's exactly what came out of his mouth as well. It's the retailer's job to make sure they're putting quality guys on the table.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, but without some manufacturer pressure, maybe, or something, or at least recommendation, you can fall in. It's still your product that's manufactured that gets put in incorrectly because they didn't have the right level of guy to do that particular carpet. So there has to be some way, some pressure from the manufacturer to do things, and they have done a lot from a money standpoint, and there just used to be so many more. There used to be so much more manufacturers trainings that I think that the NAFCT, CFIs, the NTCAs, that industry leaders are going to have to continue to prepare to be really swamped over the next 5 years. It hasn't came yet, and that's what is so crazy. It's just like a tsunami wave. The reason they're so destructive is because you don't see them until they hit you. And that's kind of what I see. This thing is happening, and I can see it, but so many people are just going to wait till the wave hits them, and then
the same thing
try
we
to
talk
do
about
something
with
about
AI, right? If you haven't started using it by now, you're already late to the game. So Jason says that manufacturer training is true certification and holds more weight. Other pay for paper organizations are just that. Now that doesn't mean you will not learn something. It can just be open for scrutiny. Now qualified has different levels. For instance, you can be formally, practically, or deeply qualified. Formal, paper certificate, license, etc. Practically, you can be trusted and have demonstrated the ability to do the thing. Deeply, you truly understand, and that's it. I mean, a lot of that comes with your relationships, and that's how we build with the GCs and stuff that we work with, right? It's, they understand that we're talented in this one thing, so it's not that they have to get other bids, but they're like, I really want to use you guys. And that's where a lot of the times we cannot be low and still get in there, certification or not.
Yeah, and that's that practicality that he was just talking about, being trusted and kind of, having demonstrated that you have the ability to be that high quality, reliable person. And it's hard to disagree with his statement, although I would be a little bit, I mean, I don't know about pay for paper organizations. I think I mean, there's some of that. I mean, there you can
I
get
think
an
so.
online
I was gonna
certification.
say
So, I
the
mean,
online certification stuff.
there are those. But if you don't train properly, then at least Jason, within the verified trade index, the training is not going to weigh uh, as much in the calculation of that installer's ranking. So from that standpoint, you're going to get exactly what you pay for when it comes to trainings. And what I say by that is make sure that the organization is putting the best foot forward, and I can vouch that many of them are. If you go to some of the trainings and certifications that are out there, they're not necessarily just pay for paper. It just depends on the organization. There was some scrutiny around that early on, but many installers say that, but they've never been to a true high quality training or certification. And I see it all the time on Facebook where they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to lose money and then go to a training just to have a piece of paper. Well, that piece of paper is different today because now it goes on to your ranking. It actually improves your ranking on a platform where you can literally show that you are taking the right steps to become a quality, high in demand kind of installer. The rankings from rookie to elite artisan and everything in between. So where you fall on that ranking is the level of your commitment to your craft and the years of experience.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't certified for years, and then once we did it, we pretty much dove right in, right? But I mean, it wasn't like we were super big hacks. We were still trying to teach ourselves and reading specs and reading articles, and it's just we didn't. If you don't know how much the industry offers, you're not. You just don't know, right? But once you're in
Mm-hmm.
it, you see all these other opportunities, and that's just all it takes. Sometimes is, these guys that are the ones that are really reluctant to do anything. All they have to do is try it one time and then they get hooked. And I mean,
Yeah.
so we've seen that. I've talked to, when we were down there watching the guys take that CTI test, I was talking to one of the evaluators, and he said that he sees the same thing um, on that side too, where guys are like, don't need it, we'll never do it. They finally are like, fine, I'll do it. And then they're like, man, one, not only was that the hardest thing I've ever done, right? But also, like, that's where you get other evaluators from. They're like, man, I want more of this. I need to have a bigger hand in the pot. So,
Well, we see it all the time. I mean, we talk about it pretty often when when somebody finally decides to go take a certification or a training, they they almost always come out of it like, man, I actually learned a lot more than I expected to. I thought I was just going to go in and blow it out of the water. And I can tell you one thing: I laid a lot of carpet that that was done the wrong way. Like I did it wrong, and um, we just don't have that infrastructure and that's what we're trying to build, is some infrastructure around the industry that can allow for those things. But the infrastructure being like an apprenticeship program or something like that, where you learn before you get tossed to the wolves. When I was just getting going, I showed a little bit of affluence towards flooring or whatever you want to say. Like I was, uh, I enjoyed it and I was pretty good out of the gate, but like I was just a good helper. And my boss is like, yep, now you're in charge of this job. Go install 10,000 yards of carpet at this high school. You know, luckily that was one of them good old double cuts, and I got through that job. In fact, we replaced some of that here recently, and I laid that like 28 years ago or 26 years ago or something crazy. Um,
It's always nice when you get those ones that you did a long time ago, and you're like, you can like, I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, and you revisit it, and you're like, yeah, I did a bunch of stuff wrong on this one, but
well, the very next job, I did a bunch of stuff wrong. You know, it was like, oh, you did that, now go do this one. I had no idea what to do. Like, and you just keep trying and trying, and then you mess a lot of stuff up, and there's just easier ways to go about it than that. There's, you know, connecting with CFI is a good way if you're in the carpet world. They have good other trainings, but they're particularly very good at carpet. And then your higher end carpets, getting into your wovens and all the fancy carpets that Kevin could tell you all about. Like, it's they're particularly well versed and positioned to train you in that field. There's also some they have a really great training for commercial carpets, and they're coming out. It may already be out, but it's a commercial modular carpet certification. So, I mean, those things are what matters when you start
it's what
doing,
Denise was talking about earlier when she made this comment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so there you go.
And I know a lot of people, again, are going to be like, I don't need that. I've done a million yards of carpet tile, and that's the thing, though. I don't know if they've ever stepped foot onto one of these failures. And I'm talking failure where it wasn't even a bad installer. Like, it was a great installer. It's just technology changes so fast. And if you're not keeping up with it, all it takes is using the adhesive or not removing 100% of the old adhesive. That's all these things take now.
Well, the backing systems are totally different. You didn't have so many backing systems back in the day for carpet tile. It was Milliken and Interface back in the early days, and you had two different ways of installing those, and that was that. Nowadays, you got recycled backings, and you got freaking PVC free backings and PVC backings and some other mix of backing. Like, you have to understand the way that the not just how to put a square piece of a textile on a piece of flat concrete. You got to learn how to first make that concrete at least flat and smooth, and then after that, you got to know what is the other prep you have to do, particularly when it's in remodels. And then you got moisture testing and all these things that come into play these days that didn't used to matter. I'll tell you, one of my biggest failures, I think I've told you this before, Daniel, but one of my biggest failures was a guy that was union trained that worked for me, and he did a job, and it all failed, like thousands of yards, and did not remove the old adhesive. Said, well, it already had carpet tile over this old broadloom, so he refreshed the pressure
The
sensitive
adhesive that was already down.
Yeah, and Kevin, I loved what he says. He said this a few weeks back. It was something like releasable, not reusable. So I loved that note from him, and that's what it was.
That they have a certification coming up in Wisconsin. So I pulled it up, and it does say it's bilingual too.
Nice.
Residential 1 and 2, and LVP 1 and laminate 1 certifications, like back to back from May 5th through May 8th. So Go say what's
Yeah,
up
so
to
if
Kevin.
you're anywhere close to Wisconsin, you ought to make it to that one. Kevin, are you training that? I usually turn my ringer off. Are you training on that one, Kevin? If type a comment in there, let me know. But so the whole talk of this whole topic is just always going to boil down to me, qualified has to start with training and certifying. Like there's no way to experience your way without either being under somebody who's certified and qualified through that process, but then you don't get the recognition of the effort you took to learn, right? So it's always good to go to the source and get that certification or get that training yourself. I know I got trained by a guy that was Forbo and Armstrong both certified as almost everything. His name was Gary Renard, really good installer here in Kansas back in the day. He's been retired for probably 10, 15 years now, but I still went and got certified on the certifications that I could get to, namely NORA. That was a really good course to go through and certification to get. And even though but that's why I ended up getting master certified, is because I did listen, I did learn from him, but then I wanted to get my own credentials. I didn't want to say, yeah, I don't have all the acronyms behind my name. That'd be like a doctor saying, well, I'm not a doctor, but I watched one, you know? And I like that, Denise, be part of the tribe. I mean, you do set yourself apart when you do this stuff.
So Kevin says in Wisconsin they'll be doing some pattern matching on Monday for free. So even if you're not going to be doing the certification, make sure you get there for some pattern matching because Kevin may know a thing or two.
Maybe. We all know.
But yeah, like we were talking about this before we even came on today, right? And it's like you can say that it's got to be this person, it's got to be this person, but it's a collective. And like you said, it's not just are you qualified or who's qualifying you. It's just get out there and learn and never stop learning.
Yeah, I mean that's like that's one of our core values if you're going to work for our company, particularly is like innovation and always being a learner. Like if you are a learner, you're teachable, you can learn new things. That shows a lot of quality that transfers over to good quality install.
Yeah, so my brother is commenting on here since he's not on. He says the thing about training and certification, whether an installer has them or not, is at some point in their life they become a trainer themselves, helping out a friend, a family, helping out someone they met at Home Depot. Like you do end up not necessarily training, but at least leading them in the right direction, right? And it's real easy to lead someone in the wrong direction when you don't have that knowledge to back you up.
Yeah, I know that a lot of trainers out there can verify this, but there's so many people who will say that, they already know how to do something, and God bless them, they just don't know that they're doing something wrong. I can attest to that early in my career. I did so many things wrong, and I just did not even I didn't feel bad about doing it wrong because I thought I was
you were doing it right.
Yeah. And uh, I was doing the best I could and blah, blah, blah. Well, being trained is part of that whole thing. It's any industry needs proper standards and verification. Like you got to go. That's what a lot of the industries asked for licensing, right? And we had a whole podcast on why that's very unlikely to ever happen. But licensing is about like learning and then proving that you can do it, and then you get a license for it.
And there's still people that do that and start cutting corners as soon as they get that license.
Yeah, and that's where I think continued education for all the training entities out there, one of the things you can do to make your training worth more and weigh really heavy in the algorithm of the verified trade index is require continued education.
Right.
Very few I can tell you do that.
I was looking for
And
my ICRI certificate because they do require it. It's I think every 4 years, right? So it's you take the test. It's the hands-on and the written portion, and then the fourth. It's either 4 or 5 years. You have to re-verify with another written test, and then the next time you renew, you have to retake the entire class all over again. I actually love that.
mhm. Yeah, that continued education or getting continued education, building a CEU units on a yearly basis to maintain your certification, it would be a really good, or maintain, whatever level certification. It'd have to be a certification, right? But to maintain your certification, if you had CEUs attached to that, the reason that is important is because things change, backings change, fibers change, the adhesives change, construction in general, and the methods and means and methods of construction change. So, you know, having a continued education is just part of having a really robust training uh, offer. Sharing knowledge, yeah, Denise, I agree, and I think that sharing knowledge is one of those deals where your brother talks about it all the time, Daniel, and his comment kind of alluded to it, like you knowing what you're doing and being trained yourself allows you to share knowledge. You don't get to do that if you don't have it. It's kind of the blind leading the blind, and of course that's what you know the verified trade index once again is meant to assist with. Your brother says if you want to be first chair in brand.
Band. He's
Oh,
talking about playing an instrument, first chair
okay,
in
I
band.
got it. Yeah, good analogy. You better get some practicing. Yeah, you got to get trained and then practice. That's one of the things with any like effective education system is like you train, apply, train, apply, train, apply, train, apply. But the training doesn't go away. And that's what I love about CFI and NAFCT, like being around people like that. They all just want to continue to get better and learn.
He's saying some his voice to text, but I understood what he was saying. No,
So right now, the industry lets anyone in, but it holds everyone accountable. That's the gap where most of our problems live. That's what your brother's last kind of closing statement that he sent over was. And I think that's freaking hits the nail on the head. The industry lets anyone in. The manufacturers say, well, it's the dealer's deal, but they'll certainly hold you accountable. And that barrier of entry, there, I mean, think of that. Like you can be held accountable for doing something you didn't know you did wrong. So you better learn how to do it right. And a lot of installers will not turn down work if they don't know what to do. I know I took a ton of work that,
especially when you're brand new, right? It's like gimme, gimme, gimme.
and you just go do it. But I would advise get tied in with CFI, get tied in with NAFCT, whatever your kind of niche is, or your
NTCA,
NTCA,
NWFA, wherever you got to
NWFA.
go.
Get tied in with them. There's good communities around each one of them, and they all kind of intersect, and you'll get to know different ones and different people. But being part of that tribe is, as Denise said earlier, is valuable and
Yeah, and
will help you really grow your business.
and not only the entities, right? Because I was talking to Hoodhead when we were in coverings, and some of these manufacturers really want to see people coming out to their stuff and doing mill tours and actually seeing how things are made, so that way you have a better understanding of the product. There's a lot that you can do other than just relying on an entity or two. There's so much out there that you can learn.
Yeah, and there's opportunities, like you said. Did you go to Milliken? I think Jorge did.
Jorge did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities when you start getting tied in where they're like, hey, we'd like to have you on a mill tour and take you and show you how their products are made.
Kevin says that his competitor's brand is on his VTI.
How do I get my competitor's brand off?
I think you have to sponsor to get things removed, right? I think it's like $2,500. You can make that payable to me, Kevin.
I actually don't know what he's specifically talking about, but
I'm sure you'll get an email sooner or later.
Well, I look forward to it. With that, we've already burned through an hour here, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's a little bit of a slow day in the comments, but just to reiterate, check out the NAFCT's upcoming heat weld and flash cove training. Where's that at, Daniel?
That is at Beaumont Flooring over in Calhoun, I believe, right?
There you go.
Georgia. So go visit the Bow Hackers.
If you have any questions, just click that QR code.
Get that QR code. You have any other questions, just definitely you can reach out to me and I'll get you the answers. If I don't have them, we'll get them to you somehow.
That's right. Also want to mention Divergent Adhesives. Go check out divergentadhesives.com. Go give Sonny some love. Buy some adhesives. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah. I mean, we use them in the trainings and everyone is like, dude, this adhesive is great. And I think last time the ones that he sent, I mean, they're only good for so long, right? So he's like, if you want, they're open already. If you want them, take them.
Oh, yeah.
So some of the installers were like, yep, they were from the area, so they were going to use them up.
There you go. And final mention of the VTI, jump on, go start your profile. It's free for life. You'll never pay to have your ranking on the Verified Trade Index. So click that QR code, go get your VTI started. And as verification of the claims, whatever training certifications and such that you have taken, the team will verify all those, and you'll have that live right there on your device. So I want to thank everybody for the comments today. Don't forget to like and subscribe our stuff on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get it. Facebook,
Apple,
Instagram,
wherever
Apple,
you're listening to this right now, plus everywhere else.
Yes. Give us some love. And from there, guys, we will chat with you guys next week. Daniel, thank you as always.
Thank you, Paul. We'll see you next week.
We'll talk to you guys later.